All right, we are actually live. Let me just maximize this over here. Man, I think we're good. All right, cool. So we're gonna get started. Hey, what's up? Check it out. It's your boy DJ Elf7. As you know, I'm interviewing cats from all across the nation now. I'm very excited to meet today's candidate because, well, you're about to find out. But I'm gonna let her introduce herself. So go ahead.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on. I'm Toneal M. Jackson, Green Party candidate for the MWRD commissioner in Chicago. And so I'm very green to politics, pun intended. But when I am not in the political arena, I am an author, a coach, a speaker, mentor to many independents, a married mother of many. I wear a lot of different hats, but let's see which of those hats are going to be are going to be called for today.
So, how'd you get into this whole political arena? Was there a certain cause that like made you jump up, or what?
No, let me tell you. So I am again new to the Green Party. I've been a Green Party member for 2 years. And so for those of you who don't know, the Green Party is another political party, even though in the United States, we think that there's a duopoly of just the red and the blue, the Democrats and Republicans. No, there's also a Green Party, and we're still a political party. It's just the fact that we are not on a corporate level. And so what happened was back in 2020, when I was doing a show and I was interviewing about the then presidential candidates, Joe Biden and Donald Trump, I ended up finding out that there were actually other candidates, but we just hadn't heard about them, because if you're not on the major party scene, then you're not really talked about. And so when I heard about Howie Hawkins, I started doing some more digging into the Green Party holistically. And so in either case, the bottom line is that I ended up joining a political party because I love their core values. What they stand for, their 10 core values, really heavily align with my personal values. And so after being a member for about a year or so, they asked me if I would be interested in running for office. And so I was like, what would that look like? I prayed about it. They told me what it meant. And I decided to go ahead and pursue the office. So that's how I came to this scene.
Okay, one thing that's interesting is you're running for what again?
Metropolitan Water Reclamation District Commissioner.
What does that mean actually? This.
That is such a great question, because can I tell you, when we were out petitioning, that was probably one of the questions that we got asked the most, right? Because most people think that the MWRD, that's what we call it for short, so they confuse it with the water company. So the water company, in short, they are responsible for all the water that comes in your house. MWRD is responsible for what comes out your house. So anytime you're flushing your toilet, letting out your bath water, all of that stuff, the MWRD pretty much treats your water. So they treat it so that way the wastewater, storm water, that's really what they're responsible for doing. The commissioners, the board of commissioners, we pretty much oversee the financials of the MWRD, as well as write policies and procedures to help to protect the water environment. That's what the commissioners do.
Where does most of the water go into the river?
Yes. So
Okay.
you're looking at we're looking at Chicago River. But yes, so that's pretty much where they're going. Then Lake Michigan, ultimately.
Okay, yeah, because here in New York City we have a lot of the ocean, right? It's right there, so
Mhm.
plants by there. Interesting. All right, cool. So the thing is that the Green Party also comes with a lot of extra barriers, right? Like it's difficult to get ballot access, things like that. So why did you decide to go this particular route? It was just the values, I guess, right?
Well, you know what? That's actually the reason why those different obstacles that you talked about. For me as a person, I am one who aligns myself with what some would call the underdog. I in my regular life, again, I'm an independent author, independent publisher, so I represent indies, those who mainstream typically feels their voice isn't necessary to be heard. And so for the Green Party, I just felt like, you know what, let's get you all more exposure. And so, as you know, when people haven't heard about something, the best way to get them to hear about something is when they get exposure for it. So the best way to get exposure for something is during these types of times when you're running for office. So even if no other time people are listening to or caring about Green Party politics, during election time, you get to hear our voice.
Okay, what are you most proud of accomplishing?
Oh my goodness. So
And please
if
keep it related to like, something that'd be like more true to your job. Some people be like my kids and stuff, but that's really, anybody could have kids really. Not that, but like how is that necessarily related towards becoming a good commissioner, I guess, right?
Well, here's the thing, because I am relatively new to the political arena, this is not a lot of noise that I've yet to make here, but I will say, as it pertains to the political arena, I'm the most proud to be where I am right now, because most people, again, because you have never heard about the Green Party, and then there's a huge obstacle when you're talking about the ballot access and things like that. For us to get on a ballot, we typically have to get 2 to 3 times more signatures than the major parties do. And so we our number was 1132. That's the amount of signatures we had to get on the ballot for this office. We got almost 2,000. We were not challenged. And so the fact that we were able to make it thus far, that in and of itself is actually a huge accomplishment. And then also, let me say this, I was also endorsed by the Independent Voters of Illinois Independent Precinct Organization. So we call it the IVI-IPO. I was also endorsed by them. So that was a pretty big moment for me too.
Cool. All right. Appreciate that. Yeah. All right. So now the thing is that I actually have some partners that I work with, and I like to ask about some of their issues that I also agree with. So one of them is going to be, let's say you ever heard of Assange? Would you be cool with the freedom of Assange?
Give me a little bit more about what is Assange?
Assange is like the WikiLeaks guy. You might have heard of Edward Snowden. It's like a similar type case. The
Okay.
thing is that there was something named Chelsea Manning who released some data, I guess, that was, well, there was a lot of leaks actually, right? Also like Hillary's emails and stuff like that. So he was given information by various sources, and then he published that information and was often cited by New York Times and, other big news agencies. But he
Mm-hmm.
was singled out, and he's in prison to this day. What's even more insane is that he was they ran several extradition because he's held in England right now and he's being moved to the United States. The first time they tried him, you know why they would not extradite him to the United States?
Why?
Because they said our prisons are too inhumane. That's our allies saying that. That's pretty sad,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really sad. So, yeah, it's just really disappointing. Anyways, well, that's just my take. But does Assange sound familiar to you? Have you heard of this person or this story?
I hadn't, but it sounds kind of similar to, I want to say her name is Brittany Griner, the WNBA player who
Heard about her?
basically got, so it was kind of similar, right? Where she was in Russia, and what would have been something really petty in the United States, they end up keeping her. And I think it's been almost 300 days that she's been in jail. And so it's that same situation where, not saying that breaking the law is ever right, but it just seems like sometimes it's a little bit more harsh than it needs to be. Like the crime definitely doesn't fit the punishment.
Yeah, I think she's 9 months in, they said, right? Yeah, so I know that,
Yeah.
yeah, I wish that she could be freed as well, right? So I
Yeah.
know people might say it's not the same thing, and I could see it on both angles, but really, let's just get freedom for all of them right now, right? While they're in there, they're
Yeah.
still suffering. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So that would be a yes to the Assange thing, or you gotta look into it.
Yeah, I would probably look more into it,
That's
but
fair.
from what you're describing,
Fair.
I don't feel that I feel that it's a little excessive
Okay.
what has been what he's having to undergo. I think
Fine.
that it might be a little bit excessive. So yeah, but I would definitely look into it a little more.
Okay. What about UBI? Would you support UBI? Not for UBI? I don't know. How do you feel about that?
So let's go into initials. What does the initials stand for? UBI.
Universal basic income?
Okay. So what is the question? Am I about it for?
Would you
Am I
support
for it
it?
or
Are you
against?
against it?
Meaning that everybody would have the same basic income?
Everybody would receive a basic income. I think that there's different formulations of it, right?
Hmm.
So I'm not saying one formulation over the other, or you could like, give details about your particular version of it, right? Or you could just say you're for it, not for
So
it.
here's my thing. Generically speaking, I would be for it, because then I feel like if everybody is on a level playing field, then what happens is you take away the need for other people to feel that they, and I'm not saying that stealing is right, okay? But a lot of times you have people that steal it's not just because they're these hardened criminals. They fall on hard times and they feel like that there are other people that can get that they can take something from because they have so much more, right? So in that one area, I feel that if you make it all the same, you put everybody on the same playing field, then you kind of decrease certain things. I know people who are who are like billionaires are probably cringing at hearing me say that, because at the end of the day, I do also know that it's important. If people are working hard, they shouldn't be penalized. So there's going to be somebody that feels like they're penalized because why am I working hard and someone else isn't working as hard, but then we have the same basic income. But I don't know. I think in general, I wouldn't be opposed to everybody being on the same level across the board.
Another group that I work with is the disabled. And the thing is that people with disabilities right now, they're actually allowed to be paid sub minimum wage. They're said like for productivity or just because they're able to give them a job or whatever. But if we look at the minimum wage, it's kind of like a subsistence wage, like kind of like close to the poverty line. It's not really cool. So
Yeah.
could we maybe we if there's productivity concerns, maybe we could supplement with federal aid or I don't know something. But do you think that we could at least ensure that people with disabilities get minimum wage? Would you be for that?
Oh, I would totally be for that. Anything like those with disabilities, veterans, like there are certain people that are just for me. Maybe it's you want to say near and dear to my heart, but I just feel like yeah, because they're people just like everybody else. So it's and I know you didn't ask about veterans, but I just feel like there's no way in the world that our country should not be responsible to take care of people who gave their lives and who did for us. Same thing with disabilities. I don't care what the disability is, whether it because it's so many different things that can be labeled as disabilities, right? But I feel like in general, there is no reason why, if they're able to do the job, even if it may not be at the exact same production level, but there's no reason why their pay should be substandard.
Another group that I work with is the trans community. So let's take a look at their issues. Okay, so the thing is that they face a lot of discrimination in their lives. They may find it hard to hold a job. They may find it like, and I get it, what I mean? They're different. Not that it's cool, but it happens. So the thing is that they may find themselves, needing public housing. Now let's suppose that, for instance, that, we say 20% of the people, I'm just making these numbers up, 20% of the people applying for public housing are trans. But when we look inside the system, we see that only 2% of the people are trans who are actually in the public housing system. So we want to know what's going on. We go ask them what's going on. They say we're getting discriminated against. They're saying, maybe I'm getting beat up, blah, blah, blah. Now, there's no law saying that you're allowed to discriminate against trans people, right? But we see this happening. How would you help, ensure this group fair access to public services?
Now, that's a really great. First of all, let's say this. Even without knowing off the top of my head an automatic policy change, I will say that I believe that everybody should have access to equal housing. So it should be fair for everybody, regardless of gender, regardless of race, regardless of any of those, those factors. So do I feel that it's fair that that is happening? No, I don't care what the number is. I feel that it should be fair across the board. I don't think that my gender should have anything to do with whether or not I qualify for housing. So I think that maybe that could be an answer because if they're using gender as a criteria for who gets housing, because to me that's the only way you can know whether or not I'm transgender, if there's a question that factors it in. So my thing would then be to take off don't allow it to be where gender determines who gets the housing.
So, one thing that's just weird proposal that's been there's been a bunch of proposals that have come my way. Actually, I'm not sure how word it is, but okay, so check it out. So in Medicaid, right, when they're trying to search for discrimination, the people on the forms check off what race they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's how they use, right, to track discrimination.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
makes sense, right? But the
Yeah.
thing is that for people who are maybe, trans and housing, right, you also have people that might make up that they're trans in order to try to qualify for housing in some way.
Mm-hmm.
But, if there's nothing in place to put them at an advantage, right? But we could track to see if there is discrimination. Maybe there's some way to protect that information from going to the housing authority before they make a decision or something like that, right? Keep it private if they want, but
But
maybe there's a better way to track this type of discrimination.
yeah, but see, to me, it works on both sides, right? Like it's not what you're saying, that tracking system wouldn't be one-sided. So the same way that somebody could check the numbers to see how many people did get it to make sure that discrimination didn't happen, then you're also being able to see whether discrimination does happen. So that's the reason why I'm saying that for me, it should not be, if we're talking about the housing and if it's solely based upon gender is being the discrimination fact, remove gender. Because at that point, to your point, how do you know whether or not somebody actually is transgender? I'm saying simply by the question. So how do you know that somebody isn't saying that they're transgender, even if they're not? So now you have to go a little bit deeper so that you can get some type of verification that you actually are what you say you are. You see what I'm saying? Because before, when it was just as simple as male or female, then it was kind of difficult for a man to say that they were a woman and vice versa. But now that you have transgender and other things thrown into the mix, then it's not just as simple as saying male or female. And so to me, if you just remove that question off of the form, the application, whatever, then now we just have to judge whatever our criteria is, has to be based upon something else that's not gender.
Okay, that sounds fair. All right, so I'm going to get into some of the other just broader topics of the day, right? And
Okay.
just things that well, actually, wait a second. Okay, so I could ask about like federal policies and stuff, but that's not really what you're running for. You're for
Yeah.
okay, so what type of under your what responsibilities are the commission or type of like
So pretty
overseeing?
much what we do, anything to, well, I won't say anything, but it's supposed to be things to do with wastewater, stormwater, flood prevention. That's really under what we do with Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. It is not simply water. There are other environmental issues that we look at, but
Okay.
primarily when you think about, if you're looking at that huge W in MWRD, it stands for water.
Are
And
there
I think
okay?
most people need to know that when we're talking about water, we don't mean drinking water, because that's what most people think, because they'll talk about, oh, what are you going to do about the lead in the water? What are you going to do about the, we're not the water like
I
these are
got it.
not the issues that we face.
Are there restrictions on collecting rainwater?
There are no restrictions here. It's difficult to do it specifically. Now we're talking about Cook County because that's what the position is for. I think I read somewhere it's like 40% of where we are in Cook County, the water, you can't save the water, right? Because of the asphalt, the concrete. So there's no way to like recycle when it's raining and where it goes. But it is possible for people to get rain barrels to try to help to recycle or to conserve the water. Absolutely.
Okay. Do you see any type of like issues going on like when treating the water and stuff? Do you guys have to buy chemicals or anything like that, or you guys just use a filtration system? What
I
do you
want to
guys
say that they have a filtration center. So in Cook County, there
right?
are 7 different treatment plants. And so there are, there are different things that they do, various chemicals or whatever that they probably do use. But I think primarily it is a filtration center, a system that they use.
Okay, that's cool. So the water reclamation, that's how'd you get involved with that particular race versus other races, right? Like most people might
Well,
think a governor or
you
water
know what?
reclamation.
So
I'm not mad at that. It was yeah.
So look, who knows what 2026 may bring? But what happened? Okay, so it was really weird because here again with the MWRD, you have 9 people that sit on the board of commissioners, and so each person's term is a 6-year term, and they stagger out. right? But what happened was one of the commissioners, Deborah Shore, she was appointed by President Biden to serve in another agent, it's like a regional position with the EPA. So that then left her 2 years left on her term. So now you had the three people who regular offices are up, but then you also had somebody who was available for 2 years. So again, keeping in mind from a strategic standpoint with the Green Party, being a third party, whenever you are not a major party, there are, you have to have a established status. So that way you don't have to get 20 and 30 and 50,000 signatures. So because we are established in this office, we wanted to make sure that we didn't lose that status. So one of the reasons why we have people running for that office is to be able to maintain our status.
Interesting. Wow, cool. Okay. Wow, real strategic. That's pretty strategic. That's cool. So that's great. You guys can implement that level of I don't think New York's doing that, honestly. I'll just be honest with you. Yeah.
No, but you know what?
Okay.
Because when you think about it, the Republicans and Democrats don't have to, because they're already established. They've been established for decades. You see what I'm saying? And so for me, for the Green Party, we need to move up the ladder. Like, it's great that the MWRD is one office, but even Commissioner
quick question, right? Yeah. You're now the thing is that, do you know people from MWRDs like in other cities? Are they elected as well, or is it a rare thing? Or is for water reclamation districts? I would think that most of them would be hired out. Most of them would be
That's a great question. That's a great question. I don't know if I don't know if it is something that is just a regular job where you just hired by the city, or if it's an elected office in other states. I can look into that. That's good. But what I was gonna say is that with the Green Party, like, it's great that we do the MWRD. But again, if we're trying to grow as a party and get it where we are just as much a household name as your Democrats and Republicans, then we're definitely gonna have to be able to start hitting some of the more major offices like mayor, like governor, and even in that is really difficult, because again, going back to what you were talking about with like the ranked choice voting and ballot placement, is really difficult because the way that the media does, they typically kind of slant it to where all you're covering is just the major parties, because it's automatically just thought, oh, these people that we've never heard of, they don't stand a chance, right? And unfortunately, there is some truth in it, because we are a capitalistic society. What happens, a lot of things is based upon money. And with the Green Party, we don't take corporate donations. So therefore, even when you're talking about endorsement processes, one of the first questions that many of the organizations ask is, how much money have you raised for your campaign? Which, technically speaking, shouldn't have anything to do with the office itself, but that's kind of what it boils down to. And so for Green Party, this office, it means a lot, because we had to work hard to just get established in it. And so we want to maintain that and not lose the work that we've done for it.
Let me tell you a horrible story about what's going on here in New York. I don't know if you have a similar story about Chicago, but so the thing is that if you want to run for mayor over here, they have something in New York called publicly funded elections. Sounds so cool, right? Yeah? Well, in order for you to qualify, you have to raise at least $250,000. So the thing is, right, only the rich people are getting the publicly funded election. So the millionaires raise $1 million, they get back $8 million in city funds. But your campaign made you raising $30,000 if you're a successful outsider candidate, right? Yeah, you get nothing.
Yep.
So I know Chicago is kind of known for shenanigans. How's your race going? Like, is any?
Well, so far we're doing what we are literally, this Tuesday will be 3 weeks till election day. And so for us, I think that it's an integrity thing. And so for us, we've really just been focusing on pushing as hard as we can, right? So like, we've been fundraising, not just within our organization, but outside. We've been doing different fundraisers, raising money, and then using those funds to do, like a smaller ads, obviously on political stations, or getting print ads in the newspapers and things like that, because all of that stuff costs, as you know, and it's even more because of the fact fact that it's during elections. So social media has really kind of been a thing, trying to make sure that whatever you can use that's cheaper or whatever, use those things. So we will definitely see. It's going to be interesting. In my particular office, I am number 57 on the ballot. I'm actually only going against one other person. So I don't know, but he's a Democrat. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, because Democrats have deep pockets or whatever. But my belief is that whatever's supposed to happen will happen. And so we're focused on trying to win this race, get our face in front of as many people as possible. And hopefully, we'll come out victorious.
That's a cool race to enter. Yeah, I like getting it started like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think, and that's what many people say too, like this is like your first step, really, if you're trying to go bigger with politics, this is a great place to start.
So what's I think that it's super interesting. Do you have like a website? Do you have like social media stuff like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So if people want to follow me, across the board. So you can literally just put in my name, Toneal Jackson. My handles though is pretty much my name is Toneal. So Toneal, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok. Wisdom is at my name is Toneal. If you want to check me out personally, my website is mynameistennille.com. And then for our campaign, if anyone would like to donate, they can go to mwrdgreens.org. That's mwrdgreens.org.
Cool. All right. And I guess when we think about Green Party, there's like kind of like two major pillars that I think of. I think like there's like ideas about cooperative ownership, and then there's also some ideas about being environmental, right? Is there probably one path that you're more like passionate about, or are they pretty much equal?
Oh my God. So yeah, so what probably hits me the most is grassroots democracy. So like, we have 10 core values. So you got the grassroots democracy, as you talked about, the ecological wisdom, you have, social justice, nonviolence, gender equity, racial diversity, community-based economics, personal and global responsibility, future focus and sustainability. And I always forget one, and it'll come to me. But I definitely would say gender equity is probably huge for me. I don't know if you see the back, but this is my backdrop for my organization. I'm glad to be a woman, so I'm definitely a feminist. But yeah, so gender equity, grassroots democracy, nonviolence, social justice, those are probably in community. Yeah, I love them all, but yeah, definitely the grassroots democracy, because everything that I do, if nothing else, I know how to take nothing and make something out of it. So yeah, I love that. That's near and dear to my heart.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the media doesn't report on grassroots activists. They only talk about the chosen news tech givers. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Talk more about it.
All right. Well, actually, so the thing is that are there any different in the Green Party, right? Sometimes there's different factions and stuff like that. Are you kind of like representing like one side of things, or
No, the way that we have it here. So in Illinois,
okay?
you have Illinois Green Party at large, but then you have different wards. So like we're part of Cook County Green Party, and that's kind of aligned with the fact that with MWRD, it is a Cook County organization. And so you have Cook County Green Party, then you have like the 50th ward. So then they go by wards. And so that really is it.
Does,
But in terms
does Cook
of,
County have any other elected or have any elected officials at this time?
no, I mean,
Chicago has some though, right?
you're saying
Chicago
for
has.
with Green Party
Yeah.
no,
Okay. Green
no,
Party is not holding any offices yet.
no, not any major offices. Like you might have like a township something, or like a library or school.
Yeah. I think I saw some with the library, something. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, but in terms of like quote unquote major offices, no.
Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah. But it's cool
Yeah.
to have the smaller offices. You know what I mean? I like what you guys are
Absolutely.
doing.
You still have
I mean,
some type of
it's
representation.
winnable and it's smart. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like
Absolutely.
just keep shooting the long haul every time. It doesn't really make sense for me. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's
Yep.
good. Okay. Excellent. So yeah, we have some different plans coming up, and just are there any particular leaders that maybe like influence your style or maybe your approach to things?
I know that this is going to sound so cliche, so do not laugh. But for me, Martin Luther King is a huge influence. And not just, I want to say not just because he was a huge influence. I love the way that he was able to speak to people, right? Very intelligent, very relatable, and his messages were powerful. And I think that that is something as a speaker that you have to be able to do. You have to be able to read your audience, know how to effectively get your message across. And I also love his approaches to things. Like he had a lot of wisdom in the way that he led. He was always cognizant that eyes were on him. And so he made sure to be able to speak twice. I mean, think twice and speak once, you know. So those were definitely things that were admirable. So he probably like I mean other leaders, yeah, but I'm saying like in terms of every aspect of my life and not just in one arena. I would definitely say, and most people would say, well, he's a man. Why not a woman? But he's definitely a person that I've looked to in so many different areas. So yeah.
Let's say you get into office, what's the first thing you do?
Oh my goodness. Other than celebrate. Well, okay, so let's say this. My campaign, I am calling it the Educated and Empowered campaign. So one of the main things that I want to do is to be able to bridge the gap between governmental officials and the community. Because with this position specifically, I believe that there should be more community awareness of what the office is. Because as I was telling you earlier, one of the main questions that we were asked while petitioning is, what is the MWRD? And so the fact that, you know, Cook County, you have about 6 million people that live in Cook County. And the fact that when we had the primaries, not even 400,000 people voted for that. So less than 10% voted for this office. Commissioner Dubuclet is quoted as saying that the MWRD is the most important agency that no one knows about. So one of the first orders of business for me is to do whatever we have to do to get more people aware of what it is that we do and involved with being part of the solution.
Good to know. All right, cool. All right, thank you. And you have any plans for the future? You got any cool events coming up? Any
Oh,
yeah.
like right now, this is the future campaigning right now for the next 3 weeks. That's really what we're doing. I mean, aside from this, I have my own conference that's called Getting Alignment with Your Assignment. That's coming up November 19th. But other than that, like this for the next 3.5 weeks, this is my foreseeable future, just campaigning until election day on November 8th.
You know, I know some people in North Carolina, Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
I have to go back to Nevada, right? These are swing states, right? And the thing is that right now we can see that like there's maybe like 5 states that might be able to control the future balance of the country. Now the
Mhm.
thing is that there's, this is actually a time of particular vulnerability because of the redistricting that happened after the census.
Mhm.
And also, if like the Democrats were like, or the Republicans, either one of them were strongly in charge, then it wouldn't be as easy to take advantage of this. But because the Democrats are really on the precipice of losing control,
Yeah.
actually, I don't know if they could stop it really, right? But if we could form a coalition, right, and work together, maybe not even work so much in our own states, but to try to influence things in North Carolina, and not maybe, it's going to be hard to change people's minds there, but maybe, we could actually, trillions of dollars will be at stake. You know what I mean? It's going to get decided in the next month.
Yeah.
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 So,
It's a lot. I mean, and then even beyond that, just the very state of our democracy, and that I think has a lot of people on edge too. I mean, I've seen different, news shows where even some of the Republicans are like, we need more Democrats in office because more than their respective positions, no one wants to lose our democracy. Like that's one of the things that makes the United States what it is the fact that for better for worse, our voice matters and we don't want to lose that ability. So yeah.
You know what? Actually, I'm not even sure you would want to comment on this because I know it's not like in your purview, right? But the thing is that right now there's that war thing going on, right? They're saying that Putin's, and I understand why he might want to use the nukes, right? We saw what happened in Afghanistan when those people were trying to jump on the plane and escape, right? Their lives could be ending if they're not able to maintain control or power.
Yeah.
So, he's. Do you have any particular comments about what's going on over there?
Not, I mean, not politically, just from a personal standpoint, is really disheartening. Because if we don't change soon, it might not be long before that could be us. Whenever you have where one person is able to be a dictator like that, it can be a scary thing. And so one of the things as Americans that we've always cherished the most are our freedoms. And people always come here because they're like, this is the land of opportunity. And if we don't band together and make sure that we remain a democracy, that could very well soon be us.
Yeah. Um, I think that I'm concerned about it myself. All
Yeah.
right, cool. So, I guess other things outside of the purview, like education, or those are all general things. But maybe out of all of those, is there like one of your favorite type of, you know, maybe
Topics.
run for office later, or like which direction? Maybe environmental, right? This water reclamation sounds like an environmental thing.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, education would probably be stronger than environment for me. I'm the LSC chair at one of my daughter's schools, and I've been there for about a little over a decade. And so just all of my children are in public school systems. So just wanting to kind of keep a look at what's going on, and how it ends up developing. So that might become something that I would be, interested in as a platform, or, something that was an interest of mine is probably education more than environmentalism.
I see actually education as a huge opportunity to build your base. The thing is
Mm-hmm.
that when we talk about like education reform, the main thing that people talk about is relief debt, which I think
Mm-hmm.
is an important issue. But let's be real, okay? The price of the education is way overpriced. And let's be
Way,
real. Let's be
yeah.
real, okay? Let's as an Asian American man, it's my chance to dig in. Okay? So the fact of the matter is that, right, Asian American men have dominated academics since the 80s, but what are we in the society but America's cuck? Let's be real. And the thing
Mm-hmm.
is, why did this happen, right? Why don't you know any Asian Americans in music or in activism? Men especially, right? It's real weird. Are we too stupid, ugly, or lazy? The problem is that we did not pay attention to our children's political education. We did not pay attention to the curriculum and ask that, and that education was truly empowering them or just making
Mm-hmm.
them good workers for the boss. And the
Mm-hmm.
thing is that you should learn from Asian American men and don't make the same mistake. I love historically black colleges. I think we should have our own colleges.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that's just me, though. Yeah.
Because here's the thing. I think that we I got to pick my words very carefully. I think that when you have historical Black colleges and universities, the thought is that okay, well, the people who attend them must then be racist, even though some people say Black people can't be racist. But I think that when it comes to integration, you have to be careful because it can be possible to lose your sense of culture and your sense of self. And so I don't think that is anything wrong with every culture having something that's just for them. I don't think that that makes you a racist because you also want to celebrate who you are. I think that you have to like reside inside and outside of the bubble. I think when you only want to stay amongst your own, then that's when you can possibly be deemed racist. But when you simply want to have something that's for you,
Yeah.
I think that that's actually necessary because you don't ever want to forget where you came from. You don't want to ever forget who you are. And so I think that there is a place for integration, but there's also a place for being able to have your own.
Makes sense to me. That sounds
Yeah,
good to have choice, right? That's good.
absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so What do you think are the most pressing issues in Chicago right now?
Oh, besides everything that's going on with Trump, I would say the overturn of Roe v. Wade is still a huge, topic that you hear everywhere because, again, being a feminist, that whole pro-life, pro-choice argument is really, really difficult.
Illinois is preserving the right to choose, though, right?
So far.
Okay.
But what
I would think
so
they would.
what Pritzker is really trying to say, so it's Pritzker against Bailey, and Bailey is the Republican, and he definitively is against abortion. And so what Pritzker is really trying to push is if you vote him in, then we too will join that overturning, movement of Roe v. Wade. And here's the thing, it's not that I believe in abortion. I believe in a woman's right to choose. So I feel that it's wrong to take that away from her because you don't know her reasoning for doing it. Everyone who has an abortion is not just because they were irresponsible and had a night that they regretted. There are a lot of medical reasons why. There are a lot of other traumatic reasons why. And these states that have already done it, they're doing it holistically, where it doesn't matter whether or not she was raped. It doesn't matter whether or not she has any medical issues. Once a woman gets pregnant, then if she tries to abort it, then, it's illegal, period. And so that's one of the things for us, again, because we are in this term where we're really being made to see, hey, if this Republican gets in office, it's not too far-fetched to think that women's rights will go out the window.
Pretty wild, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, we get to the change before the bodies start. Well, the body's gonna show up soon. That's
Yep. Yep.
Oh wow, it's unfortunate. Yeah. All right. Well, so yeah. Actually, I hear so much about like the violence in Chicago. Is things as bad as I hear, or is that just made up?
You know what? I will say it like this. Everybody says that Chicago is bad. And it's not that we are not violent. We are a violent city, but I think that there's crime everywhere. And I just think that sometimes with the media, especially, all you see is just the violence, to where
Yeah.
if you're not from Chicago, you will always think that all that happens in Chicago is something that's violent. But that's not the case. We are a violent city. There are crimes here. It is carjackings, it is shootings, but that is not all us all the time.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I think that was a great job on the interview, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again. All right. God bless.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.